I sure wish that you could be with me here at our beautiful headquarters in the heart of Washington, D.C. But since you can't, I'm delighted to be able to give you an insider's glimpse into all of the construction work that we have ongoing as part of Phase 3, the next act, the monumental restoration of DAR Constitution Hall. Before we go in, we've got to make sure we follow our safety protocols. So I'll put on my hard hat, and before I put on my mask, I'll just say, follow me. Finally, my big chance to get on stage. It is a joy for me to have an opportunity to introduce you to Mary Sang, who is the project manager here on the restoration of Constitution Hall. She is leading really what have over the course of this project been hundreds of people who've been working on the project. And I wanted Mary to give us an overview, a reaction, a response to how she feels to have been a part of this.
Well, I'm thrilled to be a part of this. I have a great team, and we have a great set of workers here as well. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the perfect project for me. I have a background in historic preservation, and I also am a theater person. I've done a lot of theatrical work over time, and so this is a dream job.
Great. Can you give us a description and overview, if you will, of all the scaffolding that is currently in place or what has been in place as part of this project? The scaffolding alone was a massive undertaking. Let's talk about that and what it enabled us to do.
So we tried to be strategic in where we got scaffolding because we knew that when it went up, it would have to be up for a while, and it is an expense. We started out with scaffolding on the stage and then added it progressively as we went around from the south part to the west to the north in the theater. The work was completed over the scaffolding on the stage. Having it in place meant that we could address all of the plaster repairs, following the plaster repair, painting those repairs, installing some drywall to bridge the gap between the lay light and the fabric installation, and then of course all of the fabric work and trimming out the light fixtures, all those little trim rings you see on the light fixtures and the cover plates for the sprinkler heads all get done from the scaffolding. And as those last little details go in, the scaffolding can start to come out.
Let's take a little time and talk about what's happening where we can't see, above the ceiling level here. For example, let's start with the steel supports that are there. Tell us, if you might, the original situation involved the ability to even open and close the lay light. There's a lot going on in that attic. Tell us what is up there and what we're doing to make this a solid project, a solid performance hall that will carry us for the next 100 years.
There's a system of steel trusses up there that are part of the structural support, and we have a company on site that's going through and improving the structure. Overall, there's 7 trusses and tensioning rods being installed, and we're actually at the point of tensioning all of those rods. After that point, we will be ready to start putting in rigging steel as well as a catwalk system. This catwalk system is pretty extensive, and it's going to provide access to all 972 lay lights in the ceiling. So that will be a good benefit to the theater.
A big part that our members will never have an opportunity to see is all that's been done in terms of the electrical here in the building. Can you give us an order of magnitude? What's been going on the electrical side?
So there's quite a bit of what's referred to as electrical rough-in in the attic area to support all of the new lighting that you'll see from down below. Is also to support the process of the steel work. A lot of conduit and duct work had to be altered to make room for the steel work to happen. So that's been a big part of the work up there.
Mary, tell me what some of the remaining major components are and maybe when you expect to be completed.
Okay, sure. So the big pieces moving into place will be getting tile and carpet on the orchestra floor, as well as seating after that, and then up in the tiers, painting repairing and painting the concrete, and then installing the chairs. And all of that will be falling into place over the next couple months. We hope to be substantially complete by mid-April.
One of the most unique, the most beautiful, and frankly one of my most favorite parts of DAR Constitution Hall is our amazing set of state seals. There are 55 of them in total. They were made specifically for DAR Constitution Hall. In fact, they were made before some of the states joined the Union, but we added on as they joined, and I'm so delighted to show you the state seal of Hawaii. You'll notice that it is very vibrant. That's because we had all of the state seals sent out, had all the old varnish removed, they were cleaned, the colors were made more vibrant, the beautiful gold rim around them was refurbished. And so we're very excited that we've been able to restore this important part of DAR Constitution Hall history. But at the same time, I'm also excited that now we're using technology to be able to reproduce a set of these seals. So I'm going to again introduce you to Mary, and she's going to tell us about the technology that's enabled us to replicate our famous set. Mary?
Sure. So we had a company come in and do a digital scan of one of the seals so that they could create a 3D model which takes into account the curve of the face of the seal and its overall dimensions and profile. From that, they'll be able to create a substrate for all of the seals, and then they're going to take high-resolution digital photography of each of the seals so that they can print the images onto this replica substrate so that you'll have a replica that you can put up when you want to take the originals down.
So we're very grateful for your financial support. It has enabled us to be able to not only restore our historic originals, but also to replicate a second set that can now be enjoyed by all those 500,000 visitors who come to DAR Constitution Hall every year. So now I have the pleasure to be joined by Popp, and Ann is the project architect, and you can't tell, but she is smiling, a big broad smile beneath that mask, because we've been making so much progress here. So I had a couple areas that Ann's been involved with, and I want to speak to her about them. Let's talk about the orchestra wall to begin with. What is different about it than the wall that was there before?
So historically, we'll start from the beginning. This actual wall here is out about 5 inches. From the historic wall. It was added in the 1990s for acoustical reasons, and then the track above the wall is actually a cable tray that sends power to the stage for production. So we wanted to keep the wall and make it as close to historically accurate aesthetically as possible. So what we did is we removed a lot of the trim that was added in the 90s that was not historic. And we wanted the wall to sort of be this one smooth, plain surface here. And then the top of the wall is actually 4 inches of acoustic paneling. And once it was installed, the acoustics in here improved immediately.
Let's talk about overhead. We have an amazing ceiling here. We're going to talk about the ley light in a minute, but first let's continue on the acoustic theme and tell me what we've done to improve the ceiling, including restore those original colors. Is that right?
So we had a historic paint analysis done where they actually cut out pieces of paint and look at them under a microscope to figure out what the colors were in here originally. Prior to this restoration, everything was gray. It was a very dark space. And we found out that the original colors picked by John Russell Popp, the original architect, were very light off-white colors.
Not only are the acoustics going to be better, but it looks lovely. I'm so anxious for our daughters to return here and to be able to see how much brighter and lighter and whiter the space is. Your eye is drawn there, and your eye is really drawn to a lot of the ornamental plaster details. So I do want to talk to Ann about some of those. Tell us what you can see now as you look up towards the ceiling and, in fact, all the way around the hall in terms of plaster.
Sure. So we had a really great plaster subcontractor, Hales and Howe, come in and restore all of the plaster. So you can see at the ceiling, all of the dentals, all the grill scrolls at the grill, that's all plaster. It's plaster mold that was applied. So they went up there, we had scaffolding all the way at the top, and they went through and fixed every single little crack and every piece of chip plaster that was up there, so it can remain for years.
So his crowning glory here was the ley light overhead. Tell those who are watching who may not be familiar even with what it is or was, what was the ley light designed to do and how did it work originally?
So originally, a ley light is designed to bring daylight into the space. So how a ley light works is the roof is actually a skylight, and the roof brings in pure sunlight. And then the ley light is actually a horizontal surface that diffuses the light, daylight, into the space. So it really was this really beautiful, bright, daylit space originally, and we're hoping to bring that back.
Wow, and we're excited, of course, because that meant at night overhead, they enjoyed concerts and lectures under the stars. So our ladies have really been enthusiastic about the fact that though we cannot restore the ley light due to the fact that it was covered over, now there's a solar panel there, we are now introducing LED technology that's going to give us the same effect. So tell us about the challenge that we put to you to return that day and nighttime sky overhead.
Yes, so typically our firm actually has done quite a few false ley lights is what they're called, with LED panels that mimic the daylight. But with this project, we had an extra element. We wanted stars. You wanted stars in the ceiling. So what we did is we worked with these lighting manufacturers. This product doesn't exist until now. So what we had to do is create a light fixture that had a daylight element, which is your typical daylit LED panel, and then we had a starlight panel that is actually behind it. So we have these two different light fixtures kind of fused into one, so that basically you can turn on the daylight and then turn on the starlight, and we saw the mock-up, it's going to look amazing.
Well, we're grateful for your willingness to try something really radically new and different. As you said, this doesn't exist anywhere else. And so we're thrilled that we're able to marry historic preservation with modern technology here on this restoration. So some of the most challenging and yet exciting parts of this restoration have been selecting the finishes, and we've looked to the very best of our ability to do so in a historically appropriate way. Historic preservation, of course, is one of our three primary aims as a society. So we looked whenever possible to be able to restore things as they were during the design phase, 1929 and 1930 during the opening. We've looked at everything from the historic exit signs, which are being restored as part of this, to the historic molding in the building. We've, to the very best of our ability, returned the original color palette to DA or Constitution Hall. So our beautiful overhead ceiling will now be in its original color scheme. Some of the most difficult choices involve the most obvious things: what to do about our seats. So I'm excited to tell you that we actually worked with a photograph from the dedication ceremony to identify the pattern. We looked at John Russell Popp, the designer's notes, and we realized that that design was actually done in blue and taupe, the color of Washington's regiments. And we were able here in the United States to reproduce exactly the historic fabric that was once on our chairs when the hall was dedicated in 1930. We did have to replace all of the chairs in Constitution Hall. The cost was less expensive to replace them with brand new chairs than it was to restore the 1970 era chairs that had been in our hall. And so to the best of our ability, we've now selected a chair style and wood treatment that reflects those original seats that were in our auditorium. And finally, one of the other big decisions was what to do about the carpeting. The hall, believe it or not, at its dedication had a dark green floor. We did opt not to pursue that we wanted to pursue something that we felt would better complement the building. In fact, we wanted to be able to complement Mrs. Dillon's restored historic mural on the stage, as well as the beautiful carpet and finishing treatments that were completed in the foyer restoration done during the Young administration. So after a lot of trial and error and selection options, we have now, and I'm excited to unveil this for you, chosen the carpet design that will be featured in our new Constitution Hall when finally you get to see it. I hope you agree that it's beautiful. It does draw not only from the historic palette, but also from those other two adjoining President General's projects, as I mentioned to you. I want you to imagine that this carpet will be complemented by an orchestra wall that will now be this color, the navy blue color, and imagine the historic state seals now juxtaposed against this dark color. We think this color combination is going to be magnificent. In addition, the floor beneath the seats was again green. We have now opted to instead go with a dark red color. There is a lot of this shade in the mural on the stage, and we think that's going to pull the stage now into DAR Constitution Hall proper. And the last thing that I want to share with you is the fact that there will be several medallions placed throughout the carpet in the hall, and the large center medallion is really going to be spectacular. This is the design for it. So much to look forward to, ladies. So grateful for all the support you've provided that's making all of this possible.